Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Ways and Means. Committee Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblywoman Brown May. Assemblywoman Dickman. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Assemblyman Hafen. Assemblywoman Howdigi. Assemblywoman Kasama. Assemblyman Miller. Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblywoman Peters. Assemblyman Watts. Assemblyman Yeager. Chair Monroe Marino.
And I am here. Will you please mark Assemblywoman Backus absent, excuse Assemblywoman Brown May, Assemblyman Yeager, and Assemblyman O'Neill present when they arrive. Members, we have a few bills on our agenda for today, but we're going to start with the presentation. For those of you that were part of the IFC during the interim, you may remember in April of 2022, I believe, we had a presentation about from Access Community Capital. And I asked them to come in this morning to make a presentation just to see how policies that we've discussed and appropriations that we've discussed and how they're benefiting small businesses in our community. So I'd invite Mr. Nick Steele, who's the Executive Director for Access Community Capital, to come up to the table. Please remember to turn on the mic, state and spell your name for the record. And good morning. It's good to see you again.
Good morning. It's good to see you. For the record, I'm Nick Steele, N-I-C-S-T-E-E-L-E. Good afternoon, Chair Monroe Moreno and members of the committee. It's always a pleasure being here in these chambers, seeing everyone do the work to advance our state in so many areas. Today is extra special as I have the pleasure of sharing some of the accomplishments our organization has had over the past year. For the record, again, I'm Nick Steele, Executive Director of Access Community Capital, a community loan fund and a CDFI information. We are a mission-driven lender, primarily working to serve the underserved. We support entrepreneurs by increasing opportunities for business owners to start and grow their ventures. We support economic development efforts and form partnerships with other organizations and communities across the state. Most of our focus is on the developing products and launching initiatives to increase access to affordable capital. In addition to offering financial products, we also provide guidance and mentorship to entrepreneurs throughout the state of Nevada. Almost 1 year ago, I, along with the Governor's Office of Economic Development, asked for the support of the Nevada Legislature and the Office of the Attorney General to entrust Access Community Capital with a $6 million investment to capitalize a revolving loan fund. At this time, we had a plan for how the funds were to be deployed and an idea of how many benefits the investment would accrue to your constituents. I am very pleased to be here today to provide an update to the committee and a report on the first year since our capitalization. As a direct result of the Nevada Women and Minority Business Expansion Plan, Access Community Capital hired 3 professionals to conduct outreach, underwrite, and follow through with targeted business support services, assisting entrepreneurs with their operational and growth strategies. Our team, while small in size, has done a tremendous job in year 1. In 2022, we were able to accomplish the following. We processed over $12 million in loan requests, dispersed over $2 million in loan funds, supported over 300 small businesses via loans and business support services, created or retained over 150 local jobs. Over 65% of approvals are women-owned businesses. Over 80% of the approvals are minority-owned businesses. And as our programming continues to reach more individuals, the momentum is continuing. In total, our organization has dispersed $2.8 million in the past 18 months. Assets have increased fourfold from $2 million to $8 million. Increasing our assets is important because as the asset base grows, so does the sustainability of the organization. Our goal is to create a sustainable nonprofit, to pay most, if not all, of our operating expenses from service fees and income. I'm excited to share that we are well on our way to becoming a self-sustaining organization. As we enter the second year of operation, post-capitalization, we are seeing our impact in more areas than originally planned at this stage. Childcare is an issue that has long been overlooked in our country, and not until the pandemic did the conversation regarding childcare and its impact on the economy really take center stage. We are seeing individuals opting out of the workforce because they are unable to either find quality childcare or unable to justify the cost of working only to earn enough to pay someone else to take care of their children. Historically, childcare providers have received very little compensation for the work they do. Arguably, early childcare providers are working with our kids at the most influential part of their lives, yet they are often compensated less than entry-level employees at fast food establishments. Furthermore, childcare providers often encounter challenges obtaining loans from traditional institutions due to the subsidy nature of their revenue. This is where we can step in, and we have, taking a deeper look into the payment process and figuring out ways to provide capital to these individuals doing such important work. After participating in several think tank discussions and learning of the challenges providers face, we presented several proposals and decided we could add value by contributing our financial and operational experience. Presently, Access Community Capital is currently working on 3 childcare-related initiatives. Our childcare team is comprised of 3 professionals, tasked with 3 primary responsibilities under a grant awarded by Nevada's Division of Welfare Supported Services. The first initiative is to develop a comprehensive study and plan to promote the expansion of childcare facilities across the state. This includes both licensed facilities and unlicensed home care. The second is to provide one-on-one support to childcare providers that are interested in either growing or an existing business or starting a new one. After launching this initiative in February, our child care team, comprised of 1 individual in Reno and 2 persons in Las Vegas, have already met with over 10 providers, secured capital for 2 of them, and is working with the Urban Chamber of Commerce to build out an on-site child care center. The third initiative, in partnership with the Children's Cabinet, is to directly be involved in the expansion of supply of quality childcare. One of the issues our team noted through surveys with providers was the incredibly stressful situations many of them faced with landlords and HOAs. In many counties, HOA communities and landlords can ban renters from operating a home-based childcare business. This often leads to providers facing eviction or having to live under stressful conditions. Since the beginning of May, the childcare team at Access Community Capital has been interviewing providers, conducting financial assessments, and matching providers with homes free of the restrictions they currently face. By the end of this year, over 35 homes will be purchased and dedicated to expanding the supply of quality childcare. At the same time, the providers moving into these homes will increase their revenue along with their capacity, generating more wealth for those that have dedicated their lives to taking care of our future. Just recently, Access Community Capital was awarded a grant with the City of Las Vegas to launch and operate an accelerator program. This program provides one-on-one business mentorship and technical assistance to emerging small businesses. The Las Vegas Accelerator launches on June 1st, 2023. A majority of minority and women-owned businesses find themselves in low barrier to entry, high rate of failure businesses. There are many reasons for this, and we are trying to solve a few. Without access to capital, those in search of new ventures are sometimes making their decisions based on which industries have a low barrier to entry or require less capital. The challenge is to enable more existing businesses to transition into high-growth enterprises and to develop the pipeline of emerging entrepreneurs prepared to capitalize on promising high-growth opportunities. Businesses in high-growth industries can have a substantial impact on their communities in the form of job creation and wealth distribution. However, an inability to access capital or tap high-growth talent can prevent even those businesses from meeting the minimum requirements for large procurement opportunities. The accelerator makes capital introductions to facilitate M&A activity or mergers and acquisitions or investments in technology and systems required to scale. The accelerator also utilizes the hands-on business advisory service model. Existing businesses will receive one-on-one needs assessment, customized solutions to existing needs, strategic mentoring and guidance, information regarding procurement opportunities, funding resources, and free outsourced back office services to improve their efficiency. Think of the accelerator as the outsourced chief operating officer, chief financial officer, and chief strategy officer for these businesses. Successful execution of the accelerator will help business owners gain expertise, increase their revenue, and grow their capacity. One of the benchmarks I am extremely excited about is our ability in year 1 and year 2 to leverage the initial capitalization through partnerships attracting additional capital into our state. I must thank Karsten Heiss for having the foresight to believe in the mission of Access Community Capital and to go a step further and take it upon himself to research potential partners that were mission aligned. After an introduction from Karsten and after about 9 months of due diligence, I'm pleased to share with the committee that Access Community Capital has secured an additional $5 million investment to augment our Nevada Women and Minority Business Expansion Plan. This investment will increase our ability to support small businesses in the state and will have a particular emphasis on creating quality jobs. We want to use this capital to share with employers why it is important to pay a living wage, encourage health, savings, and retirement plans, and bring some of those solutions to employers, saving them the time and cost of researching viable options. Attracting additional capital and investments is one of our internal benchmarks to gauge how successful our organization is and whether the impact we are having is being recognized. We are excited about our recent history of attracting investments, but more so, we want the committee to know that we are good stewards of the state's resources and actively seek to create a return on your investment by creating a return in our communities. I hope this provides a glimpse into our organization, our team, our partners, and our impact in year 1. I look forward to working with each of you in the future and truly see ourselves as the execution arm for your ideas. There's a lot of work to be done, and it's a pleasure working with you on this. And I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentations. Oftentimes, we appropriate funding to organizations, and the money goes, we don't get an opportunity to see exactly where we're at, if it worked, if it didn't work, and if we need to do things better. Thank you for answering the call when I said, hey, can you come in early to Carson City on a Wednesday morning to make a quick presentation? I know we have a few questions. I'm going to go to Assemblywoman Anderson first.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the work on this, especially around the early child care. That's wonderful. And my question actually has to do with that. How are you advertising or attracting all of these new enterprises or entrepreneurs, for lack of a better term, into this area so that way they know about it? How are you getting more people interested and involved?
Yeah, great question. This is Nick Steele for the record. I think with a lot of programs, whether it's childcare or other programs, the program can launch, but the challenge is how do you reach people so that they actually know about it? We did 2 things that I think have been very helpful. In both Reno and in Las Vegas, there are childcare hubs where there are around 8 to 12 different organizations all housed in the same building. And we decided it made sense if we were going to have this initiative to actually rent space in those locations. And so we have space in both those locations. We perform weekly meetings with the entire group of organizations where we share some of what we're doing. We actually have kind of expanded our role into helping those organizations become more efficient with their own processes. And then we also work with DWSS and the Children's Cabinet to disseminate information through different channels so that we're using, I think it's called the QRIS system, in which providers have to register. And so we disseminate information through that system as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions for Mr. Still? Assemblywoman Kasama?
Thank you, Chair. Very exciting to hear what you're doing. Thank you for the presentation early this morning, too. I also had a question in the child care area. So you mentioned that you've been purchasing some homes. And so I'm just curious, are they like residential homes or these commercial sites? And then if the residential homes, are they strictly set up for the child care, or is the entrepreneur living there as their house as well? Just kind of how does that all look?
Sure. Another great question. This is Nick Steele for the record. So what we're doing is, and our organization isn't actually doing the purchase, but we're facilitating the process. So from a structural standpoint, it made sense to bring in a partner that was set up as a REIT or a real estate investment trust so that they could purchase the homes and manage the construction and the contractor process that's needed to make the home, bring it up to standards to have childcare within that facility. But we're managing that process, and we're doing the interviewing of the childcare providers and providing them with guidance for the next 2 years actually on how to grow their childcare business, to put in best practices, and then actually put them on a path to owning that home. And so these are all residential locations. We're only working with existing childcare providers that on average have about 4 kids within their homes, and we're moving them into bigger homes on average where they can hold up to 12 kids, and so that's going to almost triple their revenue in most cases, and most of that revenue will accrue down to their bottom line. So they will be living in those homes as well.
Assemblyman Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Steele. We've gone back a long ways, and we have a lot of great conversations. And you know, in my outside of the legislature, in my career capacity, we have a lot of conversations about small businesses and how to help them and how to grow. If you can, just for the committee's information, if you could elaborate a little bit on the ways that you help businesses outside of the box, in addition to just providing capital for them. I think that'll be real helpful to know, you know, everything that's going into making these businesses successful and securing the return on investment for the state.
Sure thing. Yeah, capital doesn't solve every problem. This is Nick Steele for the record. And to your point, when you throw money at businesses without the business owner having a true understanding of how to use that capital, that's a bad investment generally. And so what we like to do is we kind of take a holistic approach. When we're issuing a loan, even through the application process, we're doing an assessment through that underwriting process. We even put together what's called a business roadmap for different business owners. It's about 14 pages at its length, and it goes through an assessment, you know, to everything as minute as are they using a Yahoo email address when sending out business communication? Are they using a Gmail account? And so we try to give them information on why it's important to migrate to a professional email for security purposes, but also for procurement opportunities. Government agencies don't quite look fondly on bids that have Gmail accounts, and so communicating things like that is important, and not just for startups, but also for existing businesses that are looking to grow. And through that assessment, we're in a great position as the lender, because we look at all of their bank statements, their financials, their tax returns. And instead of just saying no, which a traditional institution would do, we actually give them a roadmap on what areas they can improve upon. Even applicants that are ultimately denied, maybe they're not quite credit worthy yet. We still want to give them a roadmap, so that if they do cross those hurdles, then it puts them on a path of becoming more bankable. I would say some of the other things that we're doing is putting them in touch with increasing their network and increasing their access to service providers. We come across a lot of business owners that are doing well. They're making a couple $100,000 a year, a couple $1 million a year, but when you ask them for their financials, it takes weeks for them to get their financials, even historical financials. And so as a true business that has all of their I's dotted and T's crossed, you want to have those monthly financials ready to go when someone asks. Because even if you don't, that means you're not looking at your own financials, right? And it's much harder for that business owner to project into the future. So we're pairing them with accountants that we're vetting so that they can prepare monthly financials. And through this accelerator program, it's going to be great. The businesses that we're bringing into the accelerator program, they won't have to pay for accounting services, website redesign, social media management. We're going to outsource all of that, and through the grant opportunity, we're going to hire other small businesses to conduct that work for the small businesses in the program. And so we try to take that holistic approach instead of just being a lender and collecting interest payments.
Thank you so much. Members, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I would just like to thank you again for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the update, and we look forward to watching your company grow, and not so much just that, but watching the impact that you will have on other businesses within the state grow, especially when it comes to childcare. It costs more than college tuition for a lot of families,
Yeah, it
so
does.
thank you for the work
Yes.
that you're doing there.
Well, I just want to say one last thing, and that's just thank you to the committee. It was a huge investment and a lot of trust to place in our organization, and we think we've done a really good job in year one, and we look forward to doing a lot more. And just I appreciate all the ideas that have come out of the committee and the support, and looking forward to the future.
Thank you. So members, with that, we will close the presentation. And we have a link only to Las Vegas until 9 o'clock, and then we're giving up our room to another committee that has a bigger agenda than we do for today. So if anyone joining us via phone would like to call in later for public comment, that number is 888-475-4499. The meeting ID is 878-995-00028, and then please press pound. And with that, we are going to continue on to our agenda, going to the first bill of the day, and that will be AB 465. And we'll invite General Berry to the table. Members, this bill did not have a policy hearing with some time constraints and some other things. We're going to accommodate the general and speaker and hear this bill here today. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. You can get started whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Chairwoman Monroe Moreno and committee members. For the record, my name is Matthew Jonkey, M-A-T-T-H-E-W-J-O-N-K-E-Y. I'm the Legislative Liaison for the Nevada National Guard. I'm here today to provide comments and answer questions regarding Assembly Bill 465 from the Office of the Military. In the interest of time, I'll keep this short, as I know many of you have had the opportunity to meet with General Berry yesterday. The intent of Assembly Bill 465 is twofold. First, it changes the eligibility criteria for the Adjutant General as well as the Assistant Adjutants General to be from the state of Nevada. Second, it changes the age requirements for membership in the Nevada National Guard to conform with federal law and service regulations. Existing law authorizes the Adjutant General and their two Assistant Adjutants General to be selected from commissioned officers of the Armed Forces of the United States. This means they may be selected from any component or service, possibly without ever living in Nevada, being a member of the Nevada National Guard, or even being a member of a National Guard from another state. This bill requires the Adjutant General and the two Assistant Adjutants General to be selected from the commissioned officers of the Nevada National Guard. Regarding age, existing law established the Nevada National Guard as a body of enlisted personnel between the ages of 17 and 64, and commissioned officers between the ages of 18 and 64. This law conflicts with service regulations and U.S. Code. This bill will align NRS with federal law and service regulations. In conclusion, AB 465 will ensure the senior leaders of the Nevada National Guard are from Nevada. It will also simplify and align the age requirements for service in the Nevada National Guard with U.S. Code and service regulations. We appreciate your time to meet with us. Thank you for your consideration of this bill and your continued support of the state's military. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice and short. Members, any questions for the presenters? Oh, that was super easy. General Berry, go ahead.
This is General Barry, Adjutant General, State of Nevada, Nevada Military Department. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present the bill. Thank you for your support. Thank you for us being a very pro-military state in terms of what we're able to do. And on behalf of the 5,000 members of the Nevada National Guard, we just say we love to serve. Nevada National Guard, always ready, always there. Thank you.
Okay. I do have one question. Looking in the bill in Section 2 and in Section 3, it says changing the language from the Armed Forces of the United States to the Nevada National Guard. Was that changed so that we had people who know the state, understand the state, and have working relationships within the state instead of bringing in military professionals that are out of state that may not have those relationships and understand who we are, because we are unique?
Major General Andre Berry, yes, we are unique. Thank you, Chair. That's exactly it right there. And as I remind everyone, if we go back to our COVID operations, one of the first things the governor did is put 2 different departments under myself, the Health and Human Services and Department of Emergency Management, because the knowledge of the state, because of knowing the resources, support, know where to go to ask, how to get PPE, et cetera. So because of the uniqueness of the state, we thought better to, if we could have the higher level senior leaders who were selected to serve in these positions to really understand our demographics, our resources, 17 counties, et cetera. So that is the exact reason why. Thank you.
And then my last question, before I move on to another member, in Section 1, subsection 2, in changing the age requirements as the legislation was originally drafted, that made us out of compliance with federal law. So with this amended language, we will be in compliance.
Yes, again, Major General Andre Berry, Nevada National Guard. Yes, we are out of compliance the way the law is written today. The state law cannot supersede federal law, so this puts us in compliance with the active services in terms of who can serve and how long. And we're just saying to put us under those regulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Assemblywoman Heidegger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time to meet with every single one of us yesterday one-on-one. A lot of our questions got answered, which is why today is so easy for you. But I also want to say thank you so much for choosing Nevada, because I know you had been called on to fill other roles, which was the genesis of this original bill. And so I want to say thank you for choosing Nevada and for your service to Nevada and staying here. I can't imagine having to go through something like COVID with somebody who is unfamiliar with our state. So thank you, General.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I thank you for the presentation, and we'll move to testimony in support of Assembly Bill 465. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbit. I'm the state chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council. We represent the 279,000 veterans in our state, our National Guard, and our active military and their families. And when you take their families into account, that's over 500,000 Nevadans and are either directly in our military veterans or their families. Anyway, we are in support of AB 465 for a number of reasons. One, it puts us in line with the federal regulations and laws, which is appropriate. The other issue that changed in this bill, or made it clear, is some experience within our state for a senior officer. I am a past combat infantry officer, so I understand the duties of a commissioned officer. It's unique when you look at our National Guard, however. They're given missions unlike our active military, and frequently by the governors and by emergencies within our states. And these changes are an appropriate change, bringing us up to date and protecting our National Guard. And I thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 465? Seeing none, do we have anyone to the side in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 465? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone lines that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 465?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 465? Seeing none, and I am not seeing anyone in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone lines that would like to testify in opposition or neutral of Assembly Bill 465?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. So we will move to the neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 465? And still not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, and knowing we do not have anyone on the phone. With that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 465. And General Barry and assistants, don't leave. I'm going to go to Speaker Yeager.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. As members of the committee may know, under our Assembly Standing Rule number 57-4, we generally have a 24-hour waiting period from the close of hearing to any movement on the bill or any work session on the bill. That rule can be waived with the approval of the Speaker. Given where we are in session and the importance of this bill, I am willing and will formally waive Assembly Standing Rule 57-4 so that we would be able to work session the bill today.
Thank you. And with that, I will make the motion to move Assembly Bill 465.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I have a first from Assemblywoman Hadigi, a second from Assemblyman Haven. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Thank you. And we will give that floor statement to Assemblywoman Hadigi. With that, we'll open the hearing on Assembly Bill 492, which makes an appropriation to the Nevada System of Higher Education for certain information technology leases and equipment. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Dr. Ann Milkovich, that's A-N-N-E, and Milkovich is M-I-L-K-O-V-I-C-H for the record. I am the CIO for the Nevada System of Higher Education. With me is my colleague, Kirk Fitzgerald, and I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Good morning. My name is Kirk Fitzgerald, K-I-R-K-F-I-T-Z-G-E-R-A-L-D.
Is your mic on?
Yes.
Okay.
Button's on.
Could you just bring it a little closer, or you sit a little closer to the mic? That'd be great.
Is this better? Hi, my name is Kirk Fitzgerald, K-I-R-K-F-I-T-Z-G-E-R-A-L-D. I'm the Director of Infrastructure for Nevada System of Higher Education.
So I would like to provide some context about the Nevada System of Higher Education System Computing Services Division to help you understand the need for this funding. SCS is a division of NSHE. We provide shared digital services to NSHE institutions and also to the state of Nevada. Not many people know all of the services we provide to Nevada. We are Nevada's statewide research and educational network. We deliver internet and video conferencing at more than 200 sites for state agencies, research, distance education, workforce development, healthcare, and rehabilitation. We are the Internet 2 connector for the state, and therefore we are authorized to provide high-speed bandwidth and services to any organization in the state whose mission includes a research or education component. That includes libraries, state agencies, municipalities, K-12s, healthcare, Department of Corrections, etc. So we are requesting money for life cycle upgrades. That's a total of $5 million. The reason for this is that technology equipment replacements are what we call bursty. You can spend millions of dollars in 1 year and then go for several years when you don't spend anything. Then another year rolls around when you need to replace the equipment. Much of it you need to replace all at the same time. Since we can't carry over state funds, we can't build up a reserve to cover the replacement years. And recent budget cuts have made it impossible for us to replace certain cycles of equipment at the end of its lifespan. Equipment that is out of warranty is very expensive to maintain and risky. It puts the state at risk of catastrophic failure. It is more cost-effective to replace equipment on schedule, which is where we're at this point. We are also requesting $3 million for circuit leases. Certain segments of the core Nevada network serving the entire state run on leased circuits. Those circuits are leased for a term of 20 years paid up front, and it's coming up for renewal in the upcoming biennium. Again, we can't carry over money to build up for that very expensive cost that comes up every 20 years. So those leased circuit renewals total $3 million in the next year. So we must have funding for the equipment and the service and the circuits to maintain internet services for the state. Without funding, statewide internet service will fail for K-12s, healthcare, corrections, higher education, and the number of state agencies that are running on the network. So with that, I thank you for this time and for listening, and we are happy to take questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation and the explanation of how the funding will be utilized. Members, any questions for the presenters? All right, seeing none means you answered all the questions they may have had before you got here. I'll invite you to take a seat, and we will open it up for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 492. Do we have anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support? Good morning.
Kent Irvin, Nevada Faculty Alliance, in support of AB 492. For context, NevadaNet is funded through NSHE, but provides general services for the state and the citizens of Nevada. Other statewide service programs within NSHE include, for example, public health, geological services, earthquake monitoring, a legal clinic, and small business development centers, to name a few. These programs are part of the NSHE budgets for various historical reasons, but there can be good synergies with varying degrees of integration with academic and student programs and the ability to secure outside grant funding. Regardless, the state would need to fund these services even if they were not part of NSHE. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us this morning. Not seeing anyone else here in Carson City that'd like to testify in support, and I do not see anyone in Las Vegas yet. So BPS, do we have anyone on the phone lines?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Carson City, is there anyone here that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 492? Seeing none, and not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, and if I understand BPS correctly, we currently do not have anyone on our phone lines, correct?
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you so much. So we will move to the neutral here in Carson City. Is there anyone that would like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 492? Seeing none and not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 492, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 493. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm still Dale Urquiaga, and I'm still the acting chancellor of the Nevada System of Higher Education. It's nice to be with you this morning to talk about this topic in some depth.
Okay, before you go any further, I'm going to need you to say that with a little bit more excitement in your voice, that you're still.
I'm still the acting chancellor of the Nevada System of Higher Education. How's that? Thank you, ma'am. I have a terrible poker face, if any of you would like to meet for poker later as well. It's nice to be in front of you again to talk about this subject. We discussed this at a couple of the joint money committee meetings, but now we have a bill in front of us. So let me give you some context and a little bit of history, and then I'll talk specifically to the bill and perhaps some next steps as this topic has evolved. So the current funding formula for the Nevada system of higher education, which I'm thrilled to lead, dates to about 2013. In 2011, the then governor, for whom I then worked, participated in a National Governors Association policy lab that kicked off a study of funding formulas for higher education. And in those days, the funding formula conversation in America, and thus in Nevada, was very focused on performance. And so as that lab turned into eventually an interim study, the funding formula, as was designed by a committee in that time, centered really on a couple of things. Performance. There is, as you know well, a performance pool of INCHE dollars that is set aside that the institutions earn back if they meet the objectives for graduation and other metrics. And in addition, the formula is based on weighted student credit hours. You've heard us talk about that a lot. And as I said, I was there. I remember those conversations, and it was very much about two things. Certain kinds of courses cost more to deliver, and also the state has, if you will, a compelling interest in certain types of courses. We need more engineers. We don't necessarily need more people like me who have a political science degree. And so those courses are weighted differently in our funding formula. So that was the genesis of the program, of the committee that ultimately led to the funding formula revision by this body, and we've operated with it now for a decade. Last session, at the request of Governor Sisolak, a committee was established, I think it was AB 450, to look at community colleges and workforce development, which they did, and resulted in a program which you all have funded during the interim, and some additional recommendations dealing with workforce development. Out of that committee also came a request from that body through the Board of Regents for the legislature to consider revising the funding formula. What we learned in that committee, what we've learned over the last decade, unintentionally, the focus on weighted student credit hours disproportionately treats our institutions. And so you've heard this conversation quite a bit. The two R1 universities benefit greatly from that formula. Community colleges, which offer different types of courses, have a very different kind of student population, very part-time population who sort of come and go often, are somewhat disadvantaged by the current funding formula. So this committee during the last interim, that looked at community colleges said, you know, we really should look at this funding formula again just to give it a tune-up, and particularly because of the concerns about institution type. That conversation came to me when I became the acting chancellor, and in my conversations with the institutions, and given, as you know, my own background at communities and schools and as the state superintendent of public instruction, I also have noted concerns with the current funding formula as it pertains to what you have heard me call student type. So all students are treated the same in our funding formula. It's about the course they take, not about where that student begins in their journey with us or what other needs that student may bring. They might be first gen, they might not be an English language speaker at birth, they may live at some level of poverty and yet not be eligible for sufficient financial aid or Pell Grants. Our funding formula is neutral to that. And what that means, as you have heard me say, there aren't sufficient supports or staff for all types of students. So if you're a student like me, like I was many years ago, or my children were some years ago, you move through the system in a certain way and you don't require as many supports. If you're a student who comes from a different background from my family, you move through the system in a very different way and may need different levels of supports that my institutions really can't afford under their current funding formula. So that led us to request that this body consider a funding formula review during the coming interim. And you have embraced that idea, I think, in the way you closed our budgets, recognizing there's some challenges with the current funding formula, and so you've made some changes there. And when Governor Lombardo was elected and preparing his State of the State, he also embraced this idea. And so you will recall he stated in his State of the State address that it was time to review the funding formula for all the reasons that I've just indicated. And he requested that the funding formula study look at sort of the issues of accountability and transparency, particularly in the area of what we would call on our side of the house the self-supporting funds, or how student fees that we collect are spent. And as you know, that isn't always transparent to you. Those funds used to, in the old formula, come to this body and then be redistributed to us. That was changed. And there has always been interest to have more accountability and transparency there, which the governor expressed. So that's all the history and context. The governor put this amount of money in his budget, which we greatly appreciate. And so I'll begin by saying something that I don't often get to say in front of this committee, and that is that I would request that this fiscal appropriation be reduced to $2 million. We have done some research with the governor's office on some other national studies of note and some other states who've done some of this work. And really what we're talking about here, I think, will end up being two studies under one umbrella. One is the issue of a funding formula. That's a complex fiscal modeling process, and there would be a consultant or firm of some kind hired for that work to do that modeling. And then there is this topic of governance, accountability, transparency. That potentially is a different kind of RFP that one might let. Still, $2 million is adequate to cover both of those projects under one study. So that's my first and rare thing I get to say I don't need as much money. And so let's just all pause and celebrate that for a minute, that for once, Dale is not asking for money. So I think that I hope that context and that focus of the study helps you. I'll just give you a little bit more information if you're interested. The states of Texas, Illinois, and Massachusetts have done really interesting work of late on funding formula studies. Funding formula studies in some places across the country are moving to what we would call an equity and adequacy space, very different from higher ed. It's common in the K-12 space, as you know, from the pupil-centered funding formula. It's very rare in the higher ed space. Those three states have done some really interesting national work lately, and Oregon, North Carolina, and Texas have done really interesting work in the governance and accountability space. And so we have some models. I should think there will be consultants and fiscal firms in the country able to help if this money is approved and the state goes through an RFP process to choose those folks. The last bit of information that I would provide you before I attempt to answer your questions, in the Senate, Senate Bill 347 is moving. It is now in Senate Finance. It started in Senate Education as a rather different bill to deconsolidate the system of higher education. And which I am thrilled to lead. And that bill was reduced to a study of the funding formula, and that referred it to Senate Finance. That bill doesn't have money in it. It does not contain an appropriation, but it contains a rather detailed description of a commission that one would appoint and the tasks of that commission. And there are at least 5 tasks that I think the studies should address. 3 are enumerated in Senator Doñate's bill. He is the primary sponsor. And those are evaluate models for higher education funding, conduct a cost analysis of the delivery by institution and student type, and develop mechanisms for the appropriation of state funding, how it gets to the institutions. Given the governor's interest, I would add to that list to assess the current system of governance, oversight, and accountability at the system, and to make recommendations concerning public reporting and collection and use of funding for programs outside the state operating budget. So I think that your bodies may ultimately wish to somehow put these two measures together. And in my conversations with the governor's office, because they are certainly amenable to that. They've seen the other bill, they've seen this bill, and so my hope is that we can work with both bodies as these bills move, and that they are either using similar language with an appropriation or we merge the bills. I think I'm done talking, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I must say I'm overjoyed and jumping inside that. And she actually came to the table and said, I don't need this much money. I don't think we've ever had that before, so we need to mark this on our calendars. I do have just a few questions. The vendors that, the states you mentioned, Texas, Illinois, Massachusetts, and North Carolina, they used outside vendors. Have you been in contact with those vendors to see if they could do the work here in Nevada for these studies?
For the record, Dale Urquiaga. Madam Chair, very carefully, I have not been in contact with any vendors. We had a problem with that on the last funding formula study. I have consulted with the Lumina Foundation. I had a previous relationship with Lumina. Lumina does not do funding formula studies or governance studies. They are a support foundation for educational organizations. They publish a report, frankly, about degree attainment. And I know them from my previous life. And so I phoned a friend, and they helped me sort of compile information. But I have not spoken to any consultants, nor would I.
Thank you so much for mentioning that, because I was going to mention that. So this study will not be conducted by INCHE themselves. It will be an outside vendor that will not have any contact communications and direction from INCHE in the final outcome of that study.
That is, for the record, Taylor Kiaga, that is absolutely correct. This should be done through an RFP process so that multiple folks have an opportunity to apply. There may be Nevada economic modeling firms that would participate, but this should be RFP'd, and it should be done through an outside process. And in Senator Doñate's bill, there is actually a commission established to sort of receive that information rather than INCHE. And INCHE is certainly amenable to that as well. That's how it was done in 2012.
Perfect. And then ideally, would you like to see two vendors, because you mentioned the two studies, the funding formula and the governance?
Yeah.
Would you ideally like to see two vendors or the one vendor that would take on both components?
For the record, Taylor Kiaga, thank you for the question. I think one could structure the RFP in such a way that a firm or a partnership could apply for the whole ball of wax, or a firm could choose if they had an expertise. I think we should be flexible, because I think what you will all want and what the governor will want for 2025 is the best information possible. So I think that however the RFP is led, it should be flexible.
Perfect. Members, any other questions? All right. Assemblywoman Peters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I work in consulting, so I think that I think it's a great plan to have kind of an open and flexible policy for those applicants, because you never know who's going to have the best expertise in which area, and bringing together folks to work within their expert area is how we attract small business into working in the government space. However, I do want to ensure we put on the record that the expectation for this formula is to be transparent, right? So that we can see all the parts and pieces. I do not want to see a confidential spreadsheet or a proprietary formula come into this building again. So please ensure that that's a part of the RFP process, and make sure there are checks in place so we're not getting any nonsensical RFPs with state dollars.
For the record, Taylor Kiaga, thank you for that note. I think that's important. I have seen some of those confidential algorithms as well.
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman Peters, for getting that on the record. Yes, that has complicated our jobs as legislators, and I'm sure it kind of ties your hands as well. Members, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
I
you.
invite you to go ahead and take a seat, and we'll invite anyone up to the table here in Carson City that would like to make testimony in support of Assembly Bill 493. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Constance Brooks, representing the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And we couldn't be more excited about this legislation, and we are excited about the opportunity for greater transparency, for parity, as well as equity within the funding scheme for higher education in this state. We're also grateful for the opportunity that our institutions, including UNLV, would be able to showcase some of the great work that we're doing on somewhat of a shoestring budget, but also be able to advocate for a greater amount of resources for our students so that we can serve them better. We look forward to working with you in this capacity and designing a funding formula that we think will better serve our students. And we thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Michael Flores on behalf of the University of Nevada, Reno, and just happy to be up here with my colleague from UNLV, and we'll say ditto because she covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kent Irvin, Nevada Faculty Alliance. We definitely support this study. The previous formula that was developed now 10 years ago was successful in one of its goals, and that was to equalize the funding between like institutions, where if you look at state funding per student full-time equivalent enrollment, those have now coalesced for the community colleges and for the two universities. I have a chart, but I didn't bring it. So it's been successful in that narrow area of what it was intended to do. But a formula or funding for higher education in the state should not just be about distribution, but should be about adequacy of the funding, what is required to do our jobs. And so I would add number 6 to the chancellor's list, and that is to start with a study and evaluation of what level of funding for the various kinds of institutions is needed in the first place, and then figure out how it gets distributed within the budgetary process. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to make testimony in support? Seeing none, and we have lost our feed with Las Vegas, so we'll move to the phone lines. BPS, do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 493?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Carson City, is there anyone here that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 493? Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition or neutral for 493?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Perfect. Then we'll come back to Carson City. Is there anyone here that would like to testify in the neutral of Assembly Bill 493? Seeing none. With that, knowing we have no one on our phone line, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 493, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 495. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Patrick Conmay. I'm Colonel with the Nevada Highway Patrol. We're here today, and next to me is Captain James Simpson. We're here today to present Assembly Bill 495, which makes one-shot appropriations to the Nevada Highway Patrol Division of the Department of Public Safety for the replacement or purchase of vehicles, motorcycles, weapons, and certain other equipment according to mileage, threshold, and/or manufacturing recommended replacement guidelines. We're also requesting to funding to complete a staffing survey. Section 1 addresses the replacement of fleet vehicles and associated special equipment. Section 2 is the replacement of fleet motorcycles and associated special equipment. Section 3 addresses the replacement of vehicle hoist, tire changing machines, and a forklift. And I do have an update with respect to that section regarding the forklift. The original estimate for that was $66,620.23, and we've recently been advised that that estimate was revised upward $10,500, so the total for the forklift would be $77,120. Section 4 is the replacement of ballistic rifle vests, helmets, patrol rifles, and red dot sights. Section 5 is the replacement of taser equipment. Section 6, the replacement of mobile data computers. Section 7, the replacement of radar certification systems. Section 8, the replacement of portable event recording devices and associated software. Section 9, the replacement of equipment for weighing vehicles. Section 10, the replacement of computer hardware and associated software. Section 11 is the purchase of oil filter crushers and a steel shipping container for use as a fabrication workspace. Section 12 is the purchase of oral fluid mobile testing devices and cartridges. And Section 13 is the completion of a staffing study for the division. And I also note and update With respect to that study, the original estimate was for $50,000, and we've received an updated estimate at $75,000. And so the total one-shot appropriation originally was $17,187.50, and it is, I'm sorry, $17,187,580. And with those updates that I mentioned, the amount would be $17,223,080. With that, I thank you, and we're available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for the presentation, the updated information. Do you know if the amendment has already been submitted for those, the changes in the amounts for the replacement vehicles in the staffing study, or if it's forthcoming?
I do not believe the amendment has yet been submitted. The information is new, some of it as new as yesterday.
Perfect. Then our staff will be keeping an eye out for that amendment. I do have a question on the staffing study. Can you let us explain a little bit more about what the staffing study, what you hope to accomplish? I know that this body has approved DHRM's compensation and salary study for statewide for positions. What will be different in the study that's within this request?
From my perspective,
And could you just state your name
I'm
again
sorry,
for the record?
Patrick Conway for the record. From my perspective, the study really is two-pronged. So what I want to find out from this study is whether or not we are appropriately deploying our resources across the state. So the last study was conducted in 2006 and examined how we were, number one, staffed number-wise, and number two, how we were deploying those positions. We're all aware that we have a situation right now where we have a lot of vacancies. So I want that study to take a look at that and say, if we were fully staffed up to where we should be right now, is that enough? That's number one. And number two, if it is enough, or if we require more, are we deploying those resources properly across the state to ensure that that we're efficient and effective in the service we're providing? So those are the two really high-level areas I hope to go for with this study. I don't necessarily say that we need a study to tell you that I need more people. I need a study to know, do I have enough people? Do I need more people? And if I'm fully staffed, am I putting those people where they need to be? So that's what I hope to accomplish.
Okay. And in that, have you identified or have you looked into the vendors who would be conducting that study?
We have reached out to...
and I'll need you to state your name again for the
I'm
record.
sorry.
I know it's repetitive, but we need it for the minutes.
Patrick Conway, for the record. We have reached out to the same organization that helped us with the original study, and that's the University of Nevada, Las Vegas Center for Crime and Justice Policy. And we've talked to the director there, and that's where we intend to look to have this study done.
Members, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I thank you so much for the presentation, and I'll ask that you just take a seat, and we'll open it up for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 495.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 495? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line that, at all, that would like to testify?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Perfect. Then we'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 495? Seeing none. Is there anyone here that would like to testify in the neutral of Assembly Bill 495? Seeing none, and with that, I look forward to receiving that amendment as soon as we possibly can on the changes for that, so we can continue with the processing of that bill, of your bill. And we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 495, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 496. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Curtis Palmer, C-U-R-T-I-S-P-A-L-M-E-R, and I am the ASO4 for the Department of Public Safety, and it's a pleasure to be before you and the community this morning. The Assembly Bill 496 it deals with one-shot appropriations residing within Agency 650, and there's a few different budget accounts in there. In Section 1 is an allocation of $2 million to the Director's Office in cooperation with the Joint Emergency Training Institute, the JETI, in Clark County, and we're happy to be able to participate with them. Sections 2 through 7 is our training division. There's a total of $47,912 in general fund, $49,866 in highway fund, and these funds would be used for the replacement of computer hardware, radio equipment, and taser replacements. Section 8 is an allocation of $5,550 to the Office of Cyber Defense Coordination, and that is for computer equipment. Sections 9 through 11 is an allocation to the Dignitary Protection Detail, and it is for a total of $35,814 in general fund appropriations for the replacement of computer equipment, portable radios, and for taser replacements. Section 12 is just the kind of the terms and conditions, the use of the funds as appropriated, and Section 13 is effective upon passage and approval. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I have a question about Section 1, the $2 million. Is that just the state's portion for the Joint Emergency Training Institute, or is that, and who all utilizes that? Can you just give us a little bit more information on that?
Yes, certainly. So that is, it is an ongoing project and operation that Las Vegas Metro is engaged in. They have training facilities, a couple of different buildings there, ranges and so forth that are kind of comprised in total of that operation. And our contribution of the $2 million will help outfit one of the training centers to equip it with the proper scenario-based training and so forth that would be part of that. And so, yes, we would be in joint operation in use of that facility with them. I know that there are a number of different agencies that are involved with that. I don't know all of them, but yeah, I would just be hypothesizing on who some of those are, but there are multiple agencies that are involved.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to get on the record that it's not just the state's institute. It's local municipalities, their police departments, and we're doing this training together. To be more effective, I think training together will be more effective when we do have an emergency situation where we have to work together. So I appreciate that. And I know that Assemblyman Watts has a question.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just briefly, because I do recall some of the conversations about this in subcommittee, and I think one of the other aspects of this, and just correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm thinking of a different aspect of your operations, but in kind of return for contributing towards the development of this, we also have kind of some costs to be able to utilize it, and there's, I think, an agreement to make sure that those costs are held stable and predictable over the next several years. Is that correct?
Yes, for the record, Curtis Palmer. Yes, sir, that is correct.
I think you have a phoned a friend that wants to add a little bit of context to the discussion.
And with me is John DeCoco, who has actually been helping with the negotiations and everything on this. So he certainly is more intimate with the details.
Thank you. Thank you, Committee Chair Monroe Marino and committee members. In answer to your question, Assemblyman Watts, we are, with this $2 million investment, becoming a partnership / member of the Jetty Institute. What this also does is, and we are in development with a contract with right now that includes that $2 million, is a 20-year agreement with Las Vegas Metro PD for their ranges and the Jetty facility, which locks us into a nice long-term, stable cost, much lower cost than what was originally anticipated to use these facilities for the next 20 years.
Thank you so much for that. I like long-term agreements and stability. You hit a lot of the keywords. Members, any other questions or comments for these presenters? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation, the information. I'll ask you to step back, and if there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 496, I invite you to the table. Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line as of yet?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Coming back to Carson City, is there anyone here that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 496? Seeing none, we will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral of Assembly Bill 496? Seeing none. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 496, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 500. Good morning.
Good morning, Daniel Marlowe, Administrator for the Administrative Services Division, Department of Administration. Here to present AB 500, which makes a supplemental appropriation to the Office of Finance and the Office of the Governor for unanticipated shortfall in costs associated with preparation of the statewide cost allocation plan, otherwise known as SWICAP.
That was super short. All right. Members, any questions or comments on the supplemental appropriation and Assembly Bill 500? All right, seeing none. So we will move to testimony in support. Is there anyone here in support of Assembly Bill 500? Seeing none. BPS, have we had anyone join us on the phone lines?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 500? Seeing none, is there anyone that would like to testify in the neutral of Assembly Bill 500? Seeing none. So with that, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 500, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 505, which is our last bill on our agenda for this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee. I'm excited to be here. I just wanted to point that out. My name's Fred Wager. I'm the Director of Nevada Department of Veteran Services, and I'm going to try and keep this short and exciting. And so AB 505 makes appropriations, one-shot appropriations to the Department of Veteran Services and the Northern Nevada State Veterans Home accounts for the replacement of computer hardware and associated software, the purchase of information technology, peripheral devices, and the performance of certain projects. We would like to recommend a technical adjustment to Section 4 of the bill. We recommend the removal of $31,871 that was budgeted for the installation of backflow water prevention devices in the Northern Nevada State Veterans Home, as this project was funded through a work program approved at the April IFC at the behest of several members of this committee, so thank you for that. This would leave $34,769 remaining in Section 4. That concludes my testimony. I stand for questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And my one question that I had listed here was the ask about removing that section. So we will need an amendment just to take that out. So if you can get that to us as soon as possible so we can continue the processing of this legislation, that would be wonderful.
Director Wager, for the record, just to let you know, we were discussing this before we came up here, and he will have that amendment in this afternoon.
Perfect. Thank you. Members, any questions for the presenters? All right, seeing none, I thank you so much for the, oh, don't leave. Assemblywoman Peters.
Thank you so much. And I missed our last IFC meeting in which this was brought to us for those backflow devices. I just wanted to say thank you for taking that suggestion seriously. And I do hope that you guys have been able to get that contractor on board to make that change and are seeing the benefits of it, or at least not so concerned for the health of your clients there.
Director Wager, for the record, thank you for that. Thanks to your comment and Assemblyman Hafen's comment after that last hearing, we jumped on that, and we're very grateful to the IFC for funding that project. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we will move to testimony and support. If there's anyone here that'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 505, I invite you to the table. Good morning again.
I like the speed of this part versus last night. Chair and committee members, my name, for the record, is Andrew LePilbert. I'm the chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council, representing 279,000 veterans, their families, our National Guard, and our active military in our state, and we are in support of AB 505. And the water issue was a big issue for us, and really pleased to hear that that's been fixed. Anyway, that's our position. We're in support of 505, so I'll be like the rest of us, and it's short. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us for the morning ways and then ways after dark too. See no other testimony and support here in Carson City. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone lines that would like to testify in support, opposition, or neutral?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 505? Seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to testify in the neutral of Assembly Bill 505? Seeing none. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 505. And we thank you for joining us. Members, we do have one BDR introduction, and we'll take that next. And I will remind members that a vote in the affirmative on moving this BDR to getting it into a bill form does not constitute your support of the bill once it comes out. So we have one BDR. We may have more before the day is over. But right now we have BDR 17-447, which revises provisions governing the Legislative Council Bureau. And with that, I will accept a motion to approve. Thank you. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Brown May, a second from Assemblyman Miller. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. All right, I will sign the BDR. Any nays? Thank you. Motion carries. So the last thing we have on our agenda for today is public comment. Do we have anyone here in Carson City that would like to make public comment? Seeing none, we do not have anyone in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone lines that would like to make public comment?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. So members, with that, that brings us to the end of our morning meeting, and I will see you all again this evening. And this meeting is adjourned.